Reasons for the differences among Muslims and the emergence of sects and schools of thought. Treating the narrations and hadiths as if they were a revelation parallel to the Holy Quran. Although the Quran itself confirms that it is an explanation of everything. In an ancient city, there was a smart and wise young man named Omar. Omar was known for his dedication to studying and contemplating the Holy Quran. He believed that the Quran was sufficient and clear, and that it did not need human additions to complete it or incorrect interpretations. But over time, Omar began to notice that the people in his city were divided into sects and schools of thought, each of which claimed to be right and provided evidence with different hadiths and narrations, some of which were authentic, some of which were weak, and some of which were even fabricated. It even reached the point that some of these hadiths were treated as if they were part of the religion, although they contradicted the Quran itself. One day, a man named Yasser came to the young Omar, and Yasser was very confused. He said to him, "Brother Omar, I read the Quran and find everything I need in it, but I hear those around me saying that the hadiths are necessary to understand the religion, and some of them even say that they are a revelation like the Quran. How can that be?" The young man Omar replied, "I actually noticed this too." Then the young man Omar began to tell Yasser a true story from the history of the city. Once upon a time, there was a man named Zaid. Zaid was a righteous man who loved religion and was keen to apply it. But he was afraid that people would forget the teachings of Islam, so he began to collect the hadiths and stories he heard from here and there, without verifying their authenticity. Over time, these hadiths spread among the people, and some of them were treated as if they were part of their religion, even though they contradicted the Quran. Then Yasser asked, "Why didn't the scholars stop this?" The young man Omar replied, "Some scholars tried, but the issue is complicated. Some people got used to these stories, and they became part of their heritage and traditions. Indeed, some sects were built on these narrations, and they became part of people's identity. Therefore, when someone tries to alert them that these narrations may be fabricated or weak, they feel that their identity is threatened, so they attack him harshly and describe him as an infidel or a heretic." Then the young man Omar added, "But Yasser, the problem is not in denying or believing the hadiths, but in distinguishing between the authentic and the weak ones. Therefore, the Quran remains the basis, and the authentic hadiths, even if they are authentic and agree with the Quran, cannot be associated with it because they are human speech, no matter how authentic they are, and we must do so that we do not fall into the forbidden and become polytheists." Then the young Omar concluded his speech by saying, "O Yasser, the difference between Muslims and the emergence of these sects and groups is due to our distancing from the Quran and abandoning it, and following our whims and human narrations and hadiths and nothing else. If we adhere to the Quran and understand it and think about it and contemplate it as it should be, we will find that it is the only one sufficient for our guidance." Yasser left the young Omar's counsel feeling comfortable, as he understood and became more certain that the Quran is the foundation, and that the hadiths and narrations must be neutralized, and we must not deal with them as if they were a revelation parallel to the Quran, whatever the reasons. He returned to his village carrying the message of the young Omar. Return to the Quran and make it decisive, and understand what you read, and do not follow everything that is said here and there as religion, but rather make it as history, whether it is true or false. In the end, this is part of the story that aims to clarify that the difference between Muslims resulted in some of them distancing themselves from the Quran and following human narrations and hadiths. The basic message is that the Quran is the foundation and that the Hadiths must be separated and removed from the Holy Quran and placed in the category of history and not treated as if they were a revelation parallel to the Word of God, so that we do not associate partners with God or distort or cast doubt on the religion.